Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, a safe and sacred place to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to be authentic. I am your host, Tisha Michelle. From the deep pain and loss of my best friend Gloria, I realized she gave me the greatest gift ever, remembering my purpose in life, which is to help connect you to your authentic self, guide you to remember your purpose, and remind you that your current circumstance doesn't define who you are. Join me as we heal, align, and glow together. Hey guys, welcome back to Seeing with Your Soul. I'm your host, Tisha Michelle. So today's episode, I want to just talk to you. I want to share a little story, right? And about a conversation that I was having a couple of days ago with an important person in my life. And we'll just leave it at that. And we started talking about, I don't even know how the conversation started, but I brought up about going horseback riding. And I said, somehow it came up about going horseback riding. And I was like, yeah, you were supposed to take me. And this person was like, you're right. And I feel really bad about it. And he was like, I even feel bad about it now to this day. And I was like, really? You get you like, really? And he was like, yeah. So I'm going to pause right there and I'm going to go backwards. So I've always wanted to go horseback riding, and I may have talked about this before in a podcast, episode or not, but I've always wanted to go horseback riding since I was younger. It was just something about horses. And I would say things like, when I get older, I'm going to have a lot of land and I'm going to have, 4 horses, one for each kid and one for a guest. So every time I had a child, I would then up it by another horse. So at this point, 5 horses, actually 6, because I always wanted to have an extra one for someone else. People used to laugh and they'd be like, what you know about horses and want to have all this land? Like, you from Brooklyn, like you're from New York. Like, what you know about that? And I was like, I don't know. I just know that's what I want. Never rode a horse, never did anything of that sort. But I always knew that I wanted to have horses and I wanted to have all this land and I just wanted to ride and just did not know why. I didn't care. Just know that there was something I wanted, right? And I've always said I want to go horseback riding. Now, I lived in Virginia, plenty of places to go horseback. I just never went. I just don't know why I never went. It wasn't like, oh, I have to go far to do it or it's going to cost too much money. Shit, I didn't traveled all over. I'm looking at me over here capping, talking about all over. I've been to a couple of places, so let me not even start boosting. But I've traveled to other parts of the world. So what the hell, I can go in my backyard somewhere and ride a horse. But I just never did it. Never did it. Until finally I ended up going last year, or was it might have been 2018. I don't remember now. Time's such an illusion. It just runs together. But I ended up going horseback riding. I ended up going with my friend Wendy. And it was amazing. And I thought I was going to be like the baby and have to be hooked onto it. But I wasn't. I just rode. The guy told me, okay, you move it this way and you do the signal on this and that. And then I just rode. And we were all through water and going super fast up hills and down hills and all this stuff. And the guy was like, you've done this before? And I was like, oh, yeah. In another lifetime. Just very confident with it. And it just rolled out of my mouth. I was like, yeah, in another lifetime. And it was like the best experience ever. And I remember, of course, sharing this with everyone. Like, oh my God, I finally went. And then I didn't even have to be hooked on to anybody. And I was just riding like I've been riding like forever. And I was going through the water and I was doing like all this stuff. So I've also shared that story with this person. And so, I've always wanted to. So now we're going to pick back up to where I paused it. So he's like, yeah, I feel bad about it even now. I even think about it now. And I was like, wow, really? You do that. You be like, really? Because you just didn't really expect that or whatever. He was like, yeah. And he was like, because it was really important to you. And I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to go. He was like, I know. And I feel really bad because I should have been the one to take you. But it wasn't like he was saying he should have been the one to take me so it could be like, oh, I'm the one that took you for your first time. It wasn't about that. And the way he broke it down, and he said that like he's gone horseback riding before. It wasn't anything special to him at all. But I wanted to go, and I've always wanted, and I hadn't experienced it. So he was looking at it. And this is what he said. He said, I was looking at it from my eyes for you. And that's why we never did it. And I took it because it wasn't that big of a deal. And I didn't even like it when I went. And he was like, he feels bad for that because he wasn't looking at it. He was looking at it from his eyes before me. And when he said that, I said, thank you. That's a podcast. And I was like, that's a podcast. So then the conversation just went deeper, right? So I wanted to bring this over here on, Seeing with Your Soul and talk to you guys about that, because how many times do we do that? We look at things from our eyes for someone else. Like, how do we get to do that? So it was something so important to me. I've always wanted to go horseback riding. Always. I said, I'm going to have horses and I'm going to have this land and I'm going to just do this when I get older and I'm retiring and all of this. But from his eyes, because he went horseback riding and it was not that big of a deal. And he was like, I'm not going to do it again. He was like, it's not that big of a deal for her. And now look, we fast forward. I go horseback riding. It was amazing. It was amazing. Something I've always wanted to do my whole life. And I got to experience it. And he's like, and seeing how happy I was and sharing that story and was like, wow, I could have helped contribute to that a long time ago. And, and at least I'm feeling some type of way. And feeling bad for not looking at it of like from my standpoint. And I just thought that was interesting because we all do that. Even to the point of like, maybe you have a business or something and you want to raise your prices, right? Or someone says, you should really raise your prices. You should raise it to such and such. And you're like, no, that's just too expensive, right? But we're thinking about it from our pockets. Right? So I want to they say, oh, you should raise your price. No, I'm not going to raise my price because people aren't going to pay that. But then I'm looking at it from my pockets. Like, oh, I'm not going to pay that type of money for X, Y, and Z. But how am I doing that? You know what I mean? Like, if someone else's pockets is different from mine. So again, we start looking at people and their situations from our eyes and from our standpoint. So like I had someone who said that she'll get like a quote. I had two people actually. They'll go to do business, a service for the person. And then they're saying like how much. And then when they tell them the price, the person will say, that's it. And they're like, well, damn, I could have raised my prices. Then I have the other person who will give a price and they'll be like, oh no, that's too much. That's too expensive. Everybody's pockets are different. Everybody's eyes are different. Everybody is looking at things differently, but they're looking at it from their perspective. They're looking at it from their vantage point. They're looking at it from their situation. So if people are looking at things from theirs, we can't then look at theirs from ours. We just can't do that. And we do it all the time. All the time versus trying to see things from another person's perspective, from another person's vantage point, right? And this is just through conversations. This is really through a conversation, and it can go both ways and stuff. So I thought that was really interesting that he was, feeling bad, that he felt bad about it. And then again, my point, I'm super happy and excited. I'm like, oh my God, I went horseback riding and I'm sharing this experience and stuff. And meanwhile, he's dying inside. And I have no clue. No clue at all. Because again, I'm just looking at it from me because I had a good old time and it was an experience and it was great, but again, it really just had me really thinking and stuff. So I just want to talk to you guys about that. Like, while I'm talking about that, did something pop up into your head? Did you think about, a situation that maybe you're only looking at it from you and from where you are and you're not really seeing or understanding the other person? And I believe that that's where this all, comes from, these conversations and being able to be open to receive and actually truly listening and hearing another person and understanding that everybody doesn't think the way that you think. Everybody doesn't see things the way that you see it, and understanding that your way isn't right or wrong and the other person's way isn't right or wrong either. And it's all about people's experiences and their beliefs and all that just takes into effect. And how can we be better at that? How can we be better at these relationships? And I don't mean just like romantic. It could be a business partner. It could be just friends. It could just be even, putting your information out into the world and how you're putting things out, because you're limited and you're only seeing it from one way and you expect everybody else to see it like your way. And that's not really the case either. You can have a message, right? Of course. And you can put like what your message is and it's going to resonate to who it needs to resonate to, but it ain't going to resonate with everybody because not everybody's here. Where whatever here is, not everybody is there. So I know things used to get me like frustrated about people back in the days. And my mother used to say to me all the time, she'd be like, not everybody thinks the way that you do. And that's so true. But for some reason, at some point in my life, I felt like everybody should think the way that I think. Like, what do you mean? That's crazy, right? And then you just find yourself banging your head against the wall because they don't get it or they don't understand it. And, since I've been on this, self-discovery journey, and I've been looking at myself and I'm looking at others and, seeing things from, a different perspective, seeing things from your soul, right? You see it from your soul. You don't look at the limits. You don't look at those beliefs and it's right or wrong. You really just intuitively are seeing and you're like, oh, okay. All right, this is why this person, is saying this because that's all that they know. But it doesn't make them wrong for anything at all. That's just all that they know. And that's a belief that was given to them. And they've been owning someone else's belief. But then it is up to me to show the person another perspective, not tell them what's right and what's wrong, but just open them up to another perspective and where this is coming from and explaining and stuff. And I believe that that's like a great way for us to really communicate and build relationships and stuff with people, is not seeing from our eyes for them. We can't do that. Here I am telling you what you can and can't do, right? But it's not the best thing. So I really appreciated him saying that to me. And I appreciated him saying that to me because, throughout that time in our life, I felt like it just wasn't important. Like it was important to me, but clearly it wasn't important to you. So that also meant that I wasn't that important to you because you would have took me horseback riding because, it's something that I've always wanted to do. So that was really cool. And I also understood that a lot of times in our life, we hold on to things that people say or people do, right? So it goes back to as a child, whenever we were children or even like our children, now, like if they didn't get invited to like a birthday party, that turns into a wound, that ends up going, with you. Or being in a relationship and then this person not taking you to do something that you've always wanted to do. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. It's not important. So then you start to develop something about yourself. And this is how a lot of things happen. So I really appreciated that coming up in that conversation and the way that conversation came up. It was needed and I didn't even realize that it was needed, but I needed that. Again, that was something that was, in my energetic space, that was taking up space, that was all these stories and everything was attached to it, that I needed to know how this person felt and that it had nothing to do with me at all as an individual. So on so many levels, I was like, thank you. After I was like, really? Being like that. But I needed that because that needed to clear out some stuff that's on there. My mom said to me that this is so crazy. She says she never wanted to. No, not my mom. My mom was talking about always wanting to have parties, inviting people over and stuff. My aunt said to me, she said, I never had and never wanted a birthday party because I was always afraid that nobody would show up. So she went her whole life not having a birthday party because she was always afraid that nobody would show up. But where did that come from? Where did that come from? And it told me, I laughed, and then I was like, wait, that's sad. You missed out on you could have some amazing dope ass parties, but you were just afraid that nobody would show up. So I'm saying all that to say, to tie in with the fact of what he said, is that it's because when certain things happen in our life, it turns into a wound. And then it turns into there's this fear, or this fear of rejection, this fear of being alone, this fear of lacking, this fear of not being good enough. And that just builds up into us, right? So with him seeing through his eyes for me, then turned around and made me feel like I wasn't important and I wasn't worth, going horseback riding or you taking me horseback riding. And then guess what? I didn't even go since that happened, when that time period where it would have happened, it was years afterwards. So on a subconscious level, I could have then been put into my head that, I'm not meant to go horseback riding. I'm not meant to go horseback riding. And when shit gets put into your subconscious mind, it's there. It's there. So there was this thing. And now because I am going through this process of healing, and I'm also releasing things that I did not even wasn't consciously even aware of that was a problem. However, my higher power did. And no, again, we got to get rid of some of that yucky stuff. And that conversation came up to then release some things off of myself, but I'm pretty sure off of the other person too, for him just saying that and being vulnerable and putting that out there. And I thought that was just beautiful. And that, my friends, is healing. That's part of the healing process is being aware that these are just conversations. Because I probably would have been said to me 2-3 years ago, I would have been out of shape. It would have taken me back to that time frame. I would have had an attitude and I would have felt some type of way. And I would have completely missed the whole point that was just an opportunity to process something and to heal and release it. And because of the level of growth and being aware, it's all about awareness, right? And being aware that no one's out to get me. The universe isn't out to get me. People aren't out to get me. There's just experiences and there's lessons and opportunities to have a healthy, meaningful conversation with people. And then to be able to heal, just to process it and just release it and feel amazing, 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 amazing afterwards. And that's what happened. And it also gave me something to talk about on the podcast. And to I wanted to share that with you guys, is that we got to stop looking through our eyes for someone else. And let's really understand the next person. Let's just switch that up and let's start to understand and start seeing with our soul. And when we're seeing with our soul, we're being intuitive. We're letting that guide us. We're letting that show us another perspective and understanding another person's perspective, even if you don't agree with it. And that's okay. We're not going to all agree, but we can understand where other people are coming from. And we can understand that everybody doesn't think the way that we think, at all. So, yeah, we need to stop looking through our eyes. When he said that, he was like, I was looking through my eyes for you. I said, oh, shit, that's good. Yeah, so we be looking through our eyes for another person and then wondering why we bumping heads and banging heads and everything else. That's crazy. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's what I got for you guys. Look, we got to stop that now. Let's open ourselves up to other people's perspective, other people's experiences, other people's excitements and things, and just because we're not excited about it, but they are. Okay, that's cool. Whatever, the case is, let's just open ourselves up some more. Let's open ourselves up some more. And the more that we open ourselves up, to other people and their perspectives and their beliefs. And when I say their beliefs, doesn't mean that you need to believe in their beliefs, but you get to understand, where did that come from? And then also what I've found that's been happening is talking to people and their beliefs. I'm always asking people questions. I'm like, why? And if any of you guys have had conversation, you'll hear me why? Where'd that come from? And all because what's happening is that most of these beliefs we have aren't even ours. They don't even belong to us. They belong to someone else. So next time, if you're having a conversation with someone and they're so adamant about something and you're just yo, that is batshit crazy. This person's a fucking wackadoo or whatever it is that you thinking and saying, just ask them, well, where did that come from? What makes you believe that? Where did that come from? And have a dialogue and have a conversation with them. And what's that doing for that person is then making them question it. Which is cool because it's nothing wrong. I think we all do. This is where the belief is. Someone told us something and we believed it and we never questioned it. We just believed what they said and we ran with it. And guess what we did then? We started repeating the same thing over and over, saying to our kids or other people. And it's just some sayings. And then you sit back and you think where did that saying come from? That's the stupidest shit ever. It makes no sense. but we believed it and we kept going. So when you're having these conversations with people and you're not asking them like, that's stupid, where you get that from? It's just like, that's interesting. Like, what does that mean? Or like, well, where did that come from? And then people are like, I don't even know. And then you start to realize that we have all these beliefs that don't even freaking belong to us. They belong to someone else. And it's really time for us to start thinking and believing for ourselves and then being open to other people. And that's how we get to learn more about ourselves. And that's how we get to learn more about other people as well. And this is where the healthy conversations and the healthy and meaningful relationships come from. So, yeah, that's what I got for you guys. As always, thank you. Thank you so much. Any of these episodes resonate with you? I want to know. Let me know. It lets me know that, I'm talking about things you guys want to hear. If you guys have suggestions of things that's been going on and you want to hear my perspective on it, let me know that too. You can send me an email. What's my email address? Tisha@hashtagcertified.com. Matter of fact, just go to my website. It's the easiest. www.healalign.com. And you can contact me from there. You can, go to my Instagram from there. You can, send me an email, all that good stuff. But also, guys, share this podcast. I'm really being serious, and I really am now I'm like, you know what? I really do want to grow my podcast, right? And I can't do that without you guys. So if these are resonating with you and you know someone that you think that could really benefit for some of the things that, we talk about over here, please share it with them. And also, if you haven't already, leave me a review. I've had a lot of people, rate it, and I am so appreciative of that. I would really appreciate it if you would actually just write me a review. It helps keep me up there in the Apple iTunes, so that way other people can find this podcast as well. Look at me all stumbling on my words and all this stuff. And guess what? We're not editing none of that out. None of it. So y'all just gonna get all of this. But yeah, share away. Send me any feedback that you guys got or any questions or any of it. And I had mentioned that too before in the podcast. My last one, I do very, very well with questions. That's my thing. You just ask me questions, just boom, let's go. Let me channel. Let's go. So if you guys have any questions, you shoot them and send them my way, and I will answer them on a podcast, because chances are, if you're asking that question, someone else is asking it too. You were just the one that had the courage in that moment to ask it. So yeah, let me know what you guys got. Until next time, bye. Thanks for tuning in to #Certified. If anything resonated with you, I would love to continue the conversation. You can follow me on Instagram @ItIsTisha. And if you want to be a part of the #Certified tribe, you can join my Facebook group by going to the search tab and putting in #Certified. My website is conversationswithtisha.com. As always, have a great one.